Welcome back to the June Saturday Sampler for Southington. And this month we're going to be working with the Sidekick ruler put out by Jaybird Quilts. The ruler comes in two different sizes. Either side is fine to use. I'll be using the small size, but you can get more larger blocks if you use the larger size, that's all. So we're going to start with cutting our kits, but before you cut the kit, I need you to spray on Mary Ellen's Best Press. There are a lot of angles in the block this month, and we want to make sure that we get them as starched as possible. I actually starched my kits twice and ironed them. And when you're done with that, all you're going to do is cut your pieces into 2.5-inch strips. Okay? The dark plum and the medium orange are both half widths of fabric, so those are about 21, 22 inches. The light in our block this month is a piece that's 28 inches, and you're going to be folding this one. Okay, these can stay open, this one's folded. And then the last one, the most important, is the background tan, also folded with the ends evenly matched on the other side. So very important that this one be folded and this one. Okay, so let's go through the ruler a little bit and show you the shapes that we're going to be using. As you can see from our block, we're going to need 6 diamonds that are on the dark. We'll also need 6 orange that are the diamonds for the medium. The lights that I'm using in my blocks are actually triangles, so you don't have any Y seams to contend with. We're just sewing them in strips, so I'll show you that in a second. And then of course the rest is the background pieces that we're going to be using, little half triangles down here and more strips up top. Okay? All right, so let's get started. The Sidekick ruler cuts 3 different shapes. The first shape I'll show you is the diamond shape. So we have cut our strips 2.5 inches. So we will be looking for the 2.5-inch marks on our Sidekick ruler. So when we cut our pieces, they will be looking like that. Okay, the next shape we're going to be looking for is the triangle. So again, we have the 2.5-inch line on either side. So our shape will look like this. Notice that the bottom of the triangles has a blunt side. We always have to make sure when we're putting our rows together that that blunt side is on the outside of our triangle. So I'll show you that when we put the columns together. Okay? And then the last piece we're going to be working with is, oh boy, here we go. Sorry, is the half triangle. Okay, and again it goes across the 2.5 and it has this solid line going down this side, and again that also has a notch at the bottom. Okay, our Jaybird Quilt Sidekick ruler does not have any grippers on them like Creative Grids, for instance. So what I've done is I've taken these true grips and placed them on all the corners on either side of my ruler. And the reason I put it on both sides is because we're going to be flipping our ruler and cutting and flipping and cutting. So I'll need to secure the fabric using those grippers on the rulers. So a great product, it's called True Grips. All right, so we talked about the Best Press, we talked about the ruler and the True Grips. So I think we're pretty set to get cutting. So the first thing we're going to cut are our diamonds. I'll take the dark and the medium, which is our plum and our orange. Go ahead and put them right sides together is fine. Okay, the first thing we want to do is cut an angle up at one end. Okay, get those lined up right up on top of each other. I have them one on top. And the first thing we want to do is cut our angle, and you'll notice that the bottom of my ruler is right along the bottom of the strip, and the 2.5 inch mark is along the top of the strip. And you'll also see it over here, so you can keep it very level. Okay, go ahead and cut that angle. And then we're going to rotate our fabric. So we're just going to take it and flip it around. All right, so remember, this time we are cutting diamond shapes. So we're going to place our ruler, just like I showed you with the green paper, in the markings for 2.5. 2.5 here, 2.5 here, and this is our cut. Okay, so this is our first set. So just hold the ruler nice and strong, and we're just going to go across, not flipping anything, not moving anything, and we're just going to cut 6 of these, okay, which I've done. If you find that it's not quite lining up in any of these directions, take your ruler off, flip it around, and give yourself a nice clean angle again, okay? So we're going to continue to do 6 of those, which I've done up here, okay? The next shape I'd like to talk to you about is the light. These are our triangles. Remember, I have folded my triangle fabric in half so I can get 12 of these diamonds, okay? So the first thing, again, we want to do is to trim our triangle. So here's the edge. Remember the blunt little side, and it goes right down the 2.5, and here's my 2.5 marks right across the top. So we'll go ahead and cut that one, and we'll turn our ruler around, our fabric around. So this is when we're going to flip our ruler over and use the back side, but I have, again, put those true grips on either side so I get a really nice connection with the ruler and the fabric, okay? And we'll go ahead and we'll cut 6 pairs of triangles. Again, we're just going to flip our ruler, line up this line that we cut, 2.5 across the top, and then the flat blunt side along the bottom of the strip. And again, we'll cut 6 of these to yield 12 of our triangles. Okay. This last piece requires a lot of attention. It's very close in the kit. You will use the entire strip, okay? So follow very closely. The first thing we want to do is cut a 4-inch piece. Again, it's folded. Make sure it's folded. We're going to cut a 4-inch piece, a 7-inch piece, and a 10-inch piece. Okay, so let me go ahead and do that. I'll grab my ruler here. Okay, so I'll clean up the end so I have a nice start. Get rid of my selvage, and again, measure over 4 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just leave this, make sure my top line's going across the top. The next one you want to cut is 7 inches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to place that right into the corner along the top and right down the side. And then the last one we want to cut is about 10. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's going to be close. And it's basically you're just trimming off the very edge of the fold. Okay, so like I said, you're going to take the entire strip. Okay, so be very, very careful. Once we have our pieces, the last thing we need to do is to cut our half triangles. And this pair, and this pair that we cut are going to go along the bottom of our rows. So we have this pair, a left and a right, our second pair left and right, and our third pair left and right. Okay, so let's get out our sidekick ruler. We're going to place our sidekick ruler with the 2.5 mark and our line, and we're just going to do 3 cuts. So here's our triangle, here's my 2.5 mark. We're going to cut that one, find our 2.5, cut that one, and then one more, and that is all the cutting you need to do. Okay? All right. So now the fun part in assembling our columns. So it's just simply a matter of following the pattern. We're going to do 6 columns, and we're going to create our cubes. Okay, so let me get started. And those long strips are here. The one that was 10 are on the sides. The ones that were 7 are in the middle, and the ones that were 4 are in the center. Okay? All right, so let's start by creating our cubes. We're going to do dark, and then light, dark, light, dark. All right, this is our bottom row. Okay, and then remember what I said about the blunt edge? It's always going to go to the outside. And don't forget our little pieces here, this one and this one, to end our row. This one and this one. And then our last one. This one and this one. Okay. So we're going to continue. Don't forget the blunt goes on the outside over here, not up at the top. I know they're evenly spaced, but the blunt sides go to the outsides. Okay. And then we have another. I think this is right. Here, here. Okay. And we're going to build our next one, which is our next cube is here. As you can see, I'm just forming 6 columns. Keep going, and you'll see all this in the directions. There's a nice picture of the columns for you to follow. So if you don't quite catch it in the video, that's fine. And then the last one up on top is our 6th block. And again, blunt side to the outsides. All right, and now all we have left are our long pieces. These are going to go to the outside. You see that same angle going along here, and it's reverse, which is going on this one. The next size was the 7, and again we have a lefty and a righty because we put our rows, our strips wrong sides together. And then the last ones are going to be filled in up here. Now it looks a little out of proportion because they're all spaced out. But once you get them sewn, they will be slightly longer than 12.5. And the reason that they're slightly longer than 12.5 because of the rhombus shape of the block. It's not a typical square block that we're used to making, okay? So everything starts with the bottom and we work our way up through the top. All right, you ready to get started? All right, so the next thing to remember is try to stay organized, and for good reason. There's a lot of pieces here, and we don't want to pick them up from the wrong column and sew them to the wrong piece. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our columns here, and oh, I forgot to tell you about the notch. Okay, so come back over here with my diamond shape. It's really each one of these darks and mediums, they need to have the tips notched off. So I've done it on all mine, but I'll show you here on the diamond. So what you're going to do is after you cut your diamond shapes, you're going to place the ruler here. I'll do it on this side. You're going to place the ruler so the line lines up with the edge of your shape and this line right here, and the outside of your diamond with the outside shape here. And you'll notice that your little point of your diamond hangs off. So we want to make sure that we trim that away and we get both of them. So we're going to turn this around and we're going to do it to both sides. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. And trim that off. Okay, so now this is the same shape with the notches cut off. All right, so we're going to take these and the notches are going to match up, and we're going to have a little bit of a valley right here. So when we sew, I tend to like to sew from the valley straight over and out this side. Okay, so let's go ahead and do each of these. I'll just do one row. How's that? Because they're all done pretty much the exact same way. Okay, so I like to start. Make sure that both your fabrics are right on top of each other. You don't want your background too far on top and your other fabrics too far underneath. You want to keep them nicely aligned. Okay. So I have my 1/4 inch foot on. I turned down my stitch length just a little bit to about a 1.8, and I'm just going to go ahead right into that valley, keeping a nice straight line, and 1/4 inch is really important on this. And then each of these gets done one column at a time. So go grab it, sew it, and then we'll have a chain of all 6 pieces going at one time. All right? So once you have those, a good method of pressing this open, be careful you don't want to put any steam on your iron because you don't want to distort any of these shapes. So what I like to do is just open this up. And remember, one of these sides has that little triangle hanging off. So I'll just open it here and I'll give it a little bit of a finger press. Okay, and then a little bit of dry heat, just hold it on there just to give it a nice little press. What you don't want to do is start moving this around because again that distorts your fabric. Just a nice hot iron and a nice press. Okay, if you see your fabrics aren't a 1/4 inch on either side, go back and really check your stitching. Okay, so we did this one. We're going to put each of them back in their place, columns 1 through 6, always with these little triangle half triangles on the bottom, and we're just going to continue each column. I would do this one, then this one, then this one, and keep going. So this little notch fits on this side, and again I have that little valley. So when I sew, I'll sew from here in that valley straight down into this little outside bump. Okay, let's do it again. Okay, line up your fabric, make sure you have a nice straight line. You don't want to head into your strip at an angle. Go ahead and sew this at 1/4 inch. And again, as you see, it comes right out that point. Okay, and again, we're going to press this open. Here's my little triangle. Give it a little bit of a finger press, that always helps. And then some hot iron. And then the last one. This one doesn't have any notches on it, so we're just going to take an average. So this one gets flipped over to here. So it hangs off 1/4 inch there. And as you can see, a little valley right here, which is my 1/4 inch. So I'll take that over and sew that as well. Okay, last one, I promise. Okay, get this nicely lined up on your stitch plate. You don't want to come in at an angle, but nice and straight. Keep your fabrics right on top of each other. And out that little valley again. Okay. So that's pretty much it. I'll show you the ones that I've done on the strips. I don't have to do this. Last one. Pressing every single time you add something. Okay. So when I measure this one, where's my 12.5? It should be slightly larger. It should still be my 2.5 inches, okay? But it should be slightly larger than 12.5. And once I'm done pressing, I'll be able to trim at 12.5. So come on over to these, whatever is easier. And I just want to make sure that you can see how they're pressed. As they're open, each one is on top of each other, and every time that I put 2 points together, I'll see a little tiny triangle right here on the end. So when I sew my columns together, I'll know exactly where to hit on that spot. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to sew the columns together, starting even at the bottom, matching our points as we go along. And don't worry if some of these are longer or taller than the next column. It's perfectly fine. I did these two, then these two, and then I sewed those two. And I, again, pressed the seams open, okay? Once I have those, I sewed these 4 together and I joined it with the last one. So let me show you the back. Let me show you this one kind of up close. So we had a little bit of extra fabric. Again, remember, it'll be 12.5 unfinished in this direction. But in this direction, it'll be, it was a little short. That's why we opted to make these taller column fill-ins. All right, so all I did was I took my 12.5 inch square, and of course this is a finished 12 inch now, and I laid it right down at the bottom at my 1/4 inch and centered it evenly up the sides and trimmed it. But before you trim, make sure you hit it really good with the iron. One final pressing. Once everything is sewn together, I'll take the best press again and I will maneuver it to make sure that it's 12.5 in this direction. Okay? And then you just trim the top piece. Okay? It's not a bad block. It's not hard. It might just, you have a lot of pieces and you have a lot of angles. So remember to keep your 1/4 inch seam allowances. Try not to use steam. Don't distort your pieces at all, and keep them in a nice even column. Okay. All right, so that's it for June's block. I really miss everybody, and I hope to see you soon. It's not up to me, as you know, because I would love to have you in here. We are open from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 10 to 4 on Saturdays. So if you still feel like you would like to call us, you can certainly call our number, or you can email Mark, and he would be happy to put your order together with the True Grips and the Sidekick ruler, and you can pay for those before you come in, and we'll put your block and everything together. The kits will be available on Friday. Will be the first time you'll be able to come pick them up. But remember, you can come all month, okay, and pick up your kits. So call or email us and let us know that you want the tools. And don't forget about our quilt challenge. I hope you're considering making a block for the quilt challenge. We still have packets left. The packets are red, white, and black, and it's music themed. And I can tell you more about that when you come into the store. The kits are $13, I believe. Okay, so we've extended the date for those to be in, and we'll see you next month. See you later.